let's just imagine that that's the bill.
Well,
That's
it sounds like there is an alien eating human flesh, but that's okay.
Well, that's kind of how Dallas is on the day that Memorial Day weekend starts. So this is a big weekend where people are traveling and cooking out and going to swimming pools, having sex parties, drinking beer, just the regular Dallas scene. But today we're going to be discussing the Three Musketeers. And I love the Three Musketeers. That's a book and it's also a candy bar.
Candy bar? Is that how it's called? I haven't seen any.
You haven't ever seen a candy bar made of chocolate?
Named after Three Musketeers. Never seen that.
Well,
hey, can you make a picture? Can you make a picture of it so we'll use it as a thumbnail?
Yeah, that's fine. Or we can do something that sounds fine. Well, the Three Musketeers candy bar was actually invented by the Mars Company, MARS. And the Mars Company came out of Switzerland, which is famous for chocolate, and also Switzerland has mountains. But anyhow, the Three Musketeers bar has like nougat on the inside. It's very fluffy and it's covered in chocolate, which I like the Three Musketeers bar. And then after a while, they made a Mars bar, which was very much like it, but they planted a couple almonds up on the top. But the Three Musketeers, the Three Musketeers is actually a book that you were reminding me about. What's the basic idea of the Three Musketeers?
Well, first of all, there are four. I don't know why they call it three, probably because initially it was only three. Because I've read many books with the same title, Three Musketeers. There's four in each of them. Also, I've seen some movies. Yeah, there are four. I'm absolutely sure of it. But anyway, that's written by French. Yeah, the dude lived in French. Alexandre Dumas.
Dumas, like the Dumas. Yeah. The S is silenced, but that's okay. You can call him Dumas. That's okay.
Yeah.
Well, like I know that these are they have swords and they're like poking and stabbing at people, and supposedly they're justice workers. They go around and like whoop up on people, and they're kind of like pirates, but they're on land. So I think stories of pirates and musketeers and bandits are very popular. There's a song, it's called The Highwayman. It's actually based upon a poem, but it's a song that is sung by Willie Nelson, Chris Christopherson, Johnny Cash, and I forget what the fourth guy is, but it's about the adventures of exploring and robbing and stealing and grabbing women, and it's kind of part of the human experience.
Yeah, but Dumas, he was the only one who could describe or make an accurate depiction of. It's like Leo Tolstoy's Anna Karenina on War and Peace, but only much more interesting. Well, it was written 200 years ago, I guess. Maybe 200 years ago.
Turn of the century. Turn of the century.
No. It was maybe. I don't remember when they had these guns called muskets. Yeah, I guess he was a middle of 18th century, I guess 19th century, don't remember. Anyway, it's a novel, it's a fiction, full of adventures, sort of like Tom Sawyer's Adventure, only, again, more interesting to my point of view. I first read it when I was 10 years old, and then when I was older, I read two other installments, I guess like a follow-up. Dumas written a follow-up, that they were called 20 Years After, I guess. Also very interesting, and the last one I don't remember. Vicomte de Bragelonne, it was French. I don't speak French, unfortunately. Did you ever get to read it?
Yes, I did. I read that, and I read I read a lot of things in French when I was in college and in high school, but the names of the Three Musketeers, D'Artagnan, Athos, Aramis, and Porthos. And I know that there was a men's fragrance called Aramis, but I'm not sure if it's still a men's fragrance or if they retired it. Aramis.
No, I'm sure. I'm sure it's in production. I have quite recently. I guess I've seen the title. Hey, you sound different today. Can you tell me where you are? Because if it's not a secret.
Okay. Well, I am different. I can't explain everything about why I'm different because this is kind of a PG channel. But actually, I'm in my car. I'm recording from my car. And I came over to visit a friend, and we all went out last night, had some beer and pizza and hamburgers, and then some of these people are going to roll off to the Texas Hill Country and go swimming and camping and drink more beer. But I'm just sitting in my car waiting for these people to wake up. And so I'm very patient as a Petroma therapist. I feel that patience is one of our virtues. Do you feel like that's one of our virtues?
Absolutely, especially if I mean you're a woman, right? And every woman should have this virtue. Because in the Dumas book, The Three Musketeers, there was one, a borderline evil character called, exactly, woman character. She, do you remember a woman that she was called Lady Winter, I guess? Yeah, she was British, or maybe she was French initially, but she married someone from Britain. My Lady, they called it. And she was like the evil in that book. And she was the only female character, I mean, that bad.
Well, the other thing about these four guys going around doing stuff together, this could also be an example of the concept of bromance. So bros, like brothers, like guys that go out drinking and like hanging out together, sometimes called brothers. I mean, you have your brothers here in Dallas. There's David Anton as your spiritual brother, and I feel like Father Don might be one of your brothers, and also Michael in Albuquerque. I feel like he is one of our brothers. But sometimes guys go out and they just rather be with guys and hang out and drink. And they kind of get these man crushes. They like, man, this guy is so cool. I wish I could be like him. And then finally the conversation moves around to the topic of women and how all their troubles are caused by women. Have you ever experienced being out with guys having a drink and the conversation rolls around to the topic of all your problems came from interactions with women?
No, I'm past that. Yeah,
good.
I found peace. Yeah, I found peace. It's been a long time since I read it. Yeah, the book, I mean, and this conversation we're having from time to time. But anyway, I'm past that. What I want to say is, like, if you said that I have a soul brother or brother from another mother in Dallas, and if he was named like one of the Musketeers, what would his name be? Like Athos or Porthos or Aramis?
His name would be Danton, D''Anton, Danton.
Nice. I'm very smart of you. I mean, you're smart. I like it because I couldn't have come up with such an answer, such a smart answer. You just added a D like a French do, and became Danton. It sounds French.
Yeah.
Anton is a French name, probably.
Danton. Well, I've also had 2 cups of coffee with a shot of bourbon in it, so I'm actually feeling pretty good. I'm just trying to meet these people and give them their coffees so I can just go back home and like eat some scrambled eggs or something. But, the story of the Three Musketeers, when I was reading it, I also was reading The Three Musketeers. Also, I was reading some short stories by Nerval, Nerval. He's a writer very bizarro writer he really did this. He walked a lobster on a leash in Paris. I thought when I read that when I was still kind of youngish. I was maybe in the beginning of college. And I thought, gosh, when I find a man, if I could just find a man that would walk a lobster on a leash in Paris, I would know that he's the man for me. But it didn't work out that way. Most of the guys I knew never understood that. So I had read some Nerval. Do you have a lobster?
No. I thought you were going to say like when you were youngish and before you became that English literature professor, and you were youngish and you read this book and you enjoyed this Three Musketeers by Alexandre Dumas. And I thought you would say, I wish there was a man like Rio, like Cardinal Richelieu. He was a real character. I guess the court of Louis XIV, if I'm not mistaken, he was the shadow government. And I thought that you'd think, oh, I wish I could meet someone so powerful as Cardinal Richelieu or someone from the court. But you said, no, I want to see a man who like have a lobster on the leash. And I was still a bit confused.
Yeah, I feel that very powerful men are dangerous to be associated with because they have money. So I prefer like musicians and artists and just regular guys who drive trucks and they could also drive a Jaguar or they could have a BMW. But okay, so like I was reading like the Alexandre Dumas, I was reading Nerval, I read some of the writings of Marquis de Sade. I was reading French. I mean, I read French when I was in high school, but also in college, and I think I read the Alexandre Dumas around the same time I was reading Proust, Proust. And his famous work is À la recherche du temps perdu, which means in search of lost time. And it's about this guy who's having a cup of tea and he dips a little cookie into the tea, a madeleine, and suddenly he's flown back into the past. And it's all these reveries and dreams and memories of his life. So, I mean, I like cookies, I like tea, I like coffee. So, you know, in petroma therapy, it's tending to become all related. We have a lot of recurring themes.
Hey, I got to ask you a question.
Go ahead.
Coffee? No, I just have a sparkling water in front of me, but I had it like Dr. Pepper. Do you remember there was such a sparkling water, soda, I guess, in the U.S.? Dr. Pepper?
It was invented in Texas. There's the Dr. Pepper. It was invented here. Like, it's very, very famous. And Coca-Cola tried to muscle out Dr. Pepper, but we are Texans. We are diehard, and you ain't gonna mess with Texas. But yeah, Dr. Pepper. You know, a lot of places you could only get Coke, like Jack and Coke, and then some places have been like protesting against Coca-Cola, and now you can get Dr. Pepper again.
Oh, well, you tried the chocolate Three Musketeers, and you read the book Three Musketeers, and you know what Dr. Pepper is. You tell me, because I gotta know, which did you enjoy more, the book, the chocolate, or the soda water?
Wow. Well, I like a Dr. Pepper float. It's like a root beer float, and you put a scoop of vanilla ice cream in it, and it's a soda. It's like a float. So I like Dr. Pepper. I mean, the book was good. Bunch of guys running around doing stuff. No, I don't know. You know, I mean, adventure's good, but like I have a lot of adventure in my life, so.
I dig you. Yeah, no problem. I feel you. Can I ask you one more question? It may sound a little bit strange, but do you like Men? I mean, do you like Men in the Iron Mask? Because that was another book by Dumas. Have you read it, maybe?
Men in masks are a little bit scary because remember we discussed during COVID how a lot of the sex shops were selling a lot of masks and like.
No, I don't. Strangely enough, I don't remember. But maybe I should just, listen our episode again because we've discussed it. I'm sure.
No. I have not. I did not read that. I think that semester I moved on to like Russian literature or Swedish literature, but I didn't read that. But I don't know, like there's a lot of masquerade balls in New Orleans. They have Mardi Gras, and in Germany they have Fasching, which is like the carnival before Lent. I mean, it kicks off Mardi, which means fat. Well, I mean, Mardi Gras means Tuesday, Fat Tuesday. So carnivals and drinking and masks are all part of the festive celebrations of life. And once I was actually on a train going from Frankfurt into Munich, and everybody, I don't know, my parents, they did not supervise us very well. I feel like a lot of my problems come from lack of parental supervision. We lived in Frankfurt, and maybe I was a sophomore in high school, and the seniors were going on a trip to Munich, like an overnight trip. And I just mentioned, so this friend of mine, Beverly, I go, let's see if our parents will let us go. And so I just asked my mom and dad, I said, hey, my friend and I want to go to Munich. And my mom said, oh, okay. And then she just gave us, it would be the equivalent of maybe $100. And like that was supposed to last us for like 4 days. So my friend and I just got on a train with all these crazy drunk people, high school students, and we went to Munich. And this one guy on the train was leaning out on the edge of the train or doing some stupid thing. He got his arm ripped off. And you would think that he would not be so attractive to women, but what happened was people thought that he was so badass because he had gotten his arm ripped off. I mean, they had to stop the train, they had to put him in a hospital, but send him back to Frankfurt. But like after he recovered, like everybody wanted to date him because he was a senior and he had his arm ripped off. It was like horrifying.
I don't know what to say. I didn't expect that to turn out events, but I don't speak French. Yeah, I don't speak French, but you do. I take it.
No, you can speak Deutsch because you speak Deutsch with many of our subscribers.
Yeah, can I ask you? I mean, there's an image in my head now. I can't get rid of it. How long can you survive if your arm is ripped off?
I don't know. The guy was fine because there's medics on the train, and they just they stopped the train and sent some. This is true. They stopped the train and then they sent somebody back for the arm. They brought the arm back on the train. Remember, everybody's drinking because this is Mardi Gras and Fasching. So they brought the arm back, and then they hauled him into another little cabin of the, cubicle, or whatever it's called, and they just started I don't know how to put an arm back on, but somehow they stuck I guess they washed the arm off and just sewed it back onto him and wrapped him up in like a mummy from around his chest. And he was very lucky to be alive. I don't know. They backed the train up to get the arm. Did they do that in your country? Have you experienced people getting their arms torn off?
No, we don't torture people. We just rip the head off and be done with it.
Yeah.
It's painless.
Well,
that's why it's merciful.
Louis the 14th, I really like him. He had a famous saying, "L'état, c'est moi," which means the state, that's me. So he was known as the Sun King because for some time people believed that the Earth, was the Earth moved around the sun. It was a heliocentric view of the universe. And, Louis XIV, he had the Palace of Versailles. And, finally during the French Revolution, people thought that, he just spent too much money on women and drinks and his gardens. But one of the favorite places I love in Versailles is the Hall of Mirrors. It's this fabulous, long room with all these mirrors and chandeliers. And they have tours that go through there. You can just imagine these wonderful feasts with, I don't know, it's, Paris is quite the place for the imagination, especially if you have an overly active imagination. But
So what did she say? L'état c'est moi?
yeah, l'état, the state, ETAT, the state, it's me. It's like it's a monarchy, the monarchs, like the czars and the kings and the monarchs and the emperors, they all had to go, and the people's revolution was to get rid of these damn monarchs. And, supposedly Marie Antoinette said, well, the people don't have enough bread, like there are people rioting in the streets. And then she just casually, supposedly said, well, let them eat cake. She didn't even think that a revolution was possible. So in France, they dragged a lot of the kings and queens and people to the guillotine and just stuck their head there between the blade and chop. It was gone. And then there were like heads rolling in the streets, and then blood.
Yeah, I always thought the French is the nicest people in the world, but now anyway, I would in English, okay, l'état c'est moi, it's probably in French, but in English that would be I am the government. Did you say or how?
Yes, I make the rules. There's no such thing as a democracy or a Congress or a Duma or something like that. It's I make the rules. I am the king. So that's what the Tsar said. That's what the Emperor said. That's what or like with the American Revolution, we had like King George III, who had a colony, the 13 colonies, and the American colonists are supposed to send money for taxes to give to the king. And then the American colonists finally said, FTS, like, not going to do that. Let's just whoop up on these people with our knives and guns and muskets and stuff and get rid of all this king stuff. So, the United States, the colonies were built on, like, revolution is always violent. It's violent. And, so the blood of the American Revolution, is the founding of our country.
Yeah, I had this, I was up for review last week, and this performance review, it was just as violent as a revolution would be, I think, in French. But now, anyway, I'm just thinking of other kings I know of. My personal, my favorite would be some kind of German king, because I speak Dutch, right? And some kind of Ludwig 13.
Herr Joseph. Who are the German emperors?
Who?
No, you said you like German kings.
Yeah, because I speak German, but you speak French, so your favorite kings are French. I don't know if there is American king. There is no king in America, is there?
Well, it's called the president. Well, it's supposed to be the separation of powers. No, my favorite kings are like the czars. I think the czars are amazing. Those guys knew how to do stuff. I don't know. I like the Russian Revolution. I like the Mexican Revolution. I like the American Revolution. So I like the idea of revolution, that power comes from the people, and it is we only give the president a certain amount of power, and it's supposed to be balanced with the Supreme Court, who interprets the Constitution, and then the Congress, who discusses stuff. But I don't know.
You say power. Sorry?
Yeah, power.
Yeah, you say power. I immediately think of that expression. A joke, I think, because with great power comes great electricity bill. That's one of my favorites.
Wait a minute. I thought the original quote was, with great power comes great responsibility. But you're right, with a lot of power. Like, we've had power outages in Texas because, Texas kind of thinks it's its own country. And we set our own prices, and like we've blown out the power grid here, but the government doesn't care, because the people in power, this is just my personal opinion about like Texas politics, that people in power really don't care about the people.
Hey, you remember that if the president's name was nobody, that would sound like nobody cares about us. Well, anyway.
Yes, exactly. No,
Did
that's
you?
true. It's true. It's true. And like when there was the
Yeah.
power outage, Ted Cruz goes to Cancun on vacation, and everybody was like just crazy about it because, they couldn't afford to go on vacation. We're all just sitting here like, sweating or, the power outage. It was, I don't know if it was winter. It was, I don't know. Yeah. I think that's right. With great power comes a big electric bill. But this is Memorial Day weekend, and there will be people out shooting guns. They're going to go to gun ranges. They'll be throwing axes. There's axe places where you can go and throw axes. There's places where you can go, like I guess they're called clay pigeons. They're discs that
Yeah, I love them. I used to shoot guns. Yeah. Clay pigeons, my favorite. I was good. Sorry to interrupt. Go on.
Well, have you thought of doing that again from your office? From the
No, I
conference
just,
room?
I gave up my license because I don't know, somehow I developed awareness of the guns because I want to say I've become afraid, but no. And I don't want to have any guns anymore.
I agree.
Can I ask you, because I got to know, how much is your power bill again?
Oh, I'm a master of conserving power. I know how to do it. You can either get fixed rate or variable rate. Variable rate means, well, whatever the company does, you just go ahead and go with that. And so they start you off low, then they screw you to the wall later. So I never get variable rate. I get a fixed rate, and I get it for 2 years, a 2-year contract. That means for 2 years, they cannot touch my electric bill. So what I do is I use curtains on the big windows. I have ceiling fans. When the power outage is going to happen, they send us these notices. Please don't use your power. Well, everybody then fires up their ovens and does a lot of wash. Nobody pays any attention. But my electric bill can be as low as $40. That is insane. Now, my friend, I don't want to talk about David Anton, but he told me once his electric bill was $400. I go, well, David, you leave your patio door open, you stand there and smoke cigarettes, you leave your front door open. It's like you're trying to air condition your backyard. He goes, well, I like to stand on my patio and smoke cigarettes. And I really feel that that's very expensive to spend $400 on an electric bill. And he agreed that it was a lot. He's not exactly in petroma therapy, but he is one of the friends of petroma therapy.
Yeah. Well, you said your power bill is $40, and you said that your electricity bill is insane. I was going to say that my electricity bill is also insane, only the other way around. Maybe I shouldn't have given away my guns after all. Anyway, I guess that time's up for me. My subscription is over. And there is a doctor here. I'm up for any pills again, I guess. And thanks for sharing, and stay safe.
Okay, goodbye. Adios. It's not a bell. It's not a bell. I don't know. It's like a rattle.
Thank you.